thank you. Good morning, night, afternoon, evening. We are worldwide, so good day wherever you are. I am Alexander Siedschlag, the Dean of the Embry-Riddle Worldwide College of Arts and Sciences, and I'm excited to welcome you to another occurrence of the Dean Speaker Series, Resilience Reimagined. We are excited to host Adam Montella today, who, among a lot of other things, is a member of our Department of Emergency, Disaster, and Global Security Studies Industry Advisory Board. So thank you very much, Adam, for joining us. Resilience Reimagined is the title of our series. We don't officially, we want to reimagine resilience, therefore we do not foster any particular definition of resilience, but we want to hear from our esteemed guests also how they define and how their enterprise defines resilience reimagined. But as a point of reference, we are using the United Nations Sendai framework for disaster risk reduction that defines resilience as the ability of a system, community, or society exposed to hazards to resist, absorb, accommodate, and recover from the effects of a hazard in a timely and efficient manner, including through the preservation and restoration of its essential basic structures and functions. Now, using the US as a frame of reference, that kind of connects to FEMA's lifeline approach. And Adam, our presenter today, also is very experienced with FEMA and the Federal Emergency Management Agency that has been in the headlines for the past few weeks. But the topic very much connects to that aspect of societal resilience writ large, as Adam is going to talk today about AI in action, enhancing public safety for resilient communities. Adam is an internationally recognized subject matter expert, speaker, and writer on numerous topics relating to emergency management, public safety, technology, business continuity, physical and cybersecurity, homeland security, public health, disaster response, and recovery. With 40 years of direct experience, he has worked in leadership or advisory roles in local, state, and federal government, private industry, and non-profit organizations. So he can really speak to the all hazards or community aspects of resilient communities. As an executive vice president for Summit ET, Adam oversees Summit ET's programs and service divisions and operations departments. He is also a senior subject matter expert and trusted advisor to government and private sector organizations throughout the US and internationally, very adequate for us here as the Worldwide College of Arts and Sciences of Embry-Riddle. Adam previously served on FEMA's, Federal Emergency Management Agency's National Advisory Council, as he served also as the Human Services Branch Chief for the Florida State Emergency Response Team, as a member of the US Department of Homeland Security's Private Sector Intelligence Analyst Program, on FEMA's Emergency Response Team, ERT, the MASCAR lead. He also was at FEMA's National Response Coordination Center, and he also was a MASCAR officer for the American Red Cross. Holding bachelor's and master's degrees in public administration, Adam also attended both police and emergency medical services academies. So Adam, thank you so much for joining us today. You bring a huge bandwidth of expertise, experience with responsibility across private and public sectors to the field here. We'll proceed as usually. We invite all, and thanks all for joining here. We invite all participants to briefly introduce themselves, what they do, where they are located in the chat. And then also, while Adam is going to present, any feedback, any questions on the way already, please leave them in the chat. And then, as always, option number 2, to become a little interactive here, we'll set aside a few minutes towards the end of the presentation where participants will also be invited to take the mic and ask their question or provide their feedback directly. As a matter of courtesy, but please, identify yourself briefly before engaging. So with that said, Adam, thank you so much for your service to our college and its Department of Emergency, Disaster, and Global Security Studies as an esteemed IAB member. And thank you so much for having agreed to be our esteemed expert for this session today. Once again, the topic is artificial intelligence, AI in action, enhancing public safety for resilient communities. Looking forward. Please take it away, Adam. Thank you.
Thank you so much. Hearing you read that list off, I feel like 100 years old now. So yeah, this is AI. I actually am 100 years old, but just kidding. Thank you all for joining us today. This is a topic I'm sure that's forefront in everyone's minds today. I'm going to jump right into it so we can make the best use of our time. So artificial intelligence, holds extraordinary potential for both promise and peril. Responsible AI has the potential of solving some of the most difficult and urgent challenges and problems around the world to make us more prosperous and productive and innovative and secure. But at the same time, irresponsible use could exacerbate societal harms. And this is from the executive order on the safe, secure, and trustworthy development use of AI, just to kind of set the stage for our discussion today. The goals that I have today is to kind of define AI and discuss its current uses. There's many. Identified applied opportunities in public safety, emergency management, and in our field to promote resilient communities, and also to discuss some challenges and areas for future consideration. One of the first things I'd like to say is that this content for this slide deck or this slide was generated by AI. So when we use AI, we should be transparent and let people know that we've used it so that there's no expectation that this was, entirely generated under your own brain and hands. So this read my content. I had it develop a slide deck for me that showed the content of my deck. So what is AI? AI defined. So it's a branch of computer science devoted to developing data processing systems that performs functions normally associated with human intelligence, such as reasoning, learning, and self-improvement. So what does that all mean? AI is a tool to help us do things faster, better, smarter, in less time than a human being can do it alone. So how do you use AI? Let's talk about a couple of those different things. And you could post things into the chat if you want on how you currently use AI. But let me talk about some AI in our everyday lives. So you open up your phone with either your face or a fingerprint or some sort of biometric. That's AI as well. We reach for our phones every morning. It's the first thing that we do. A Google search. Google search is using artificial intelligence to look at a large amount of data across the entire internet to find you the information or the research or the picture that you're trying to locate. In social media, after we unlock our phones, what's the next thing we do? A lot of us check, our posts and our social media, looking at friends, and if we're talking to somebody about that new game that just came out from Xbox. It's amazing how in the advertisement, the game for Xbox starts coming up into your feed as well. So it's listening to what's going on day to day, such as Alexa and Siri and all those other apps are doing to try to, from an advertiser's perspective, give us targeted advertising. On the receiving end of your message, spam filters are using artificial intelligence to kind of weed out known spam and known sales pitches if you have a filter on, or it's looking for threats as well, such as Trojan or some kind of malware to get on your computer or your phone. So that's all running in the background all the time. So AI is not new. We've been using it for forever. These are just a few examples. Okay, so some key definitions. We've got some a thing called algorithms, right? So algorithms are the step-by-step instructions we give to the computer or to the system to perform the tasks that we want it to do. And you've heard the term machine learning. So machine learning is the computer is trained to do or to identify or predict an outcome based on these learned patterns within the data. So if I start to type something in a Word document and I misspell it, spell check is an AI tool that is looking at spelling, looking at a data set that says this is spelled incorrectly, or it's looking at grammar, or we use Grammarly sometimes in our efforts as students to write papers, and we also use it as instructors and faculty to make sure you haven't plagiarized something. It looks across the entire network of the body of knowledge and looks at all those kinds of things. So there's many types of AI based on different technologies, and the hype today is really that large language model, which is really machine learning. And we'll talk about that in just a second. It deals basically with the algorithms that can learn and improve based on experience. So it's learning all the time, but it doesn't have what we have, empathy. Doesn't have the ability to determine right or wrong unless we tell it what right or wrong is, what the left boundaries and the right boundaries are. Yet, I mean that's maybe in the future. Hal will take over the universe, and we'll all be working for the Matrix somewhere. But today, it's not possible. However, in the last few days, Microsoft just announced a 20-year effort to find a new element, and that element, we think of things as liquid, solid, or gas. They've identified this thing that's kind of fluid or gelatin-like that they're able to now integrate into a chip, maybe even to the size that fits in your phone, that gives it the quantum computing power of, think of a server farm the size of the entire Earth in your phone on a chip. So things that took maybe 4 weeks to crunch data on can be done in about 4 minutes. That's where we're going in the future is happening much quicker. I still don't think it has the ability to feel or emote. So we're still safe there as long as we have safeguards in place. So deep learning. Deep learning is a subset of machine learning that uncovers features or patterns that we can't observe as humans very quickly. So think of the NSA and the National Security, and they're listening to all of our conversations, all our internet traffic, and looking for keywords or hearing keywords, and their algorithms are identifying them very quickly, and that's how they're able to find terrorism suspects. They're able to find the person that phoned in the bomb threat to a school or something of that nature. So that's where we have that process. So large learning modules, LLMs, it's a deep learning model that trains itself. This is where we get the machine learning on large amounts of data from various sources. It can be from books, the internet, multiple data sets, even hundreds at a time. And it's, amalgamating that into a full body of knowledge. I have one friend of mine, associate for about 20 years, was a cold case detective with the Los Angeles County Sheriff's Office, and he was a brilliant guy. And his cousin was a programmer, so he put his brain together with her programming skills, and they've developed a tool that is almost a digital clone of somebody. So think of the application of having the most brilliant scientists or the most brilliant surgeons in a box, and that person or that group of people's body of knowledge you can ask questions of as if that person were there in the room with you. That has tremendous application for remote environments, for remote surgeries, for research. Just the possibilities are endless. And generative AI, that's the thing that we all kind of think of today. We're looking for some help with starting a paper or a book, or looking for an image or creating an image. And we think of generative AI is doing that for us. So there's a lot of hundreds of tools available now, and the field's actually going to grow logarithmically. Just think ChatGPT, Copilot, Apple Intelligence, all of those things are using generative AI, and it's basically understanding, learning, and adapting to the information it receives. So it's a pretty powerful tool. Gen AI is good at learning from large databases, specific well-defined tasks such as like pattern recognition, like I said earlier, words, phrases, things of that nature. Cameras, closed circuit TVs, if you have cameras, security cameras, they have onboard analytics that are looking for imagery that tells them that that's a person. Or in an airport, it's looking for that individual that left a briefcase standing there and walked away, and they've been gone for 5 minutes. That intelligence allows it to follow the person back in time through the cameras that are in other parts of the airport to trace that person's route and going forward where they've gone. So if it's a potential device, we're able to find the individual very quickly now. Large language models are also good at writing plausible, coherent text and recalling knowledge and synthesizing it. So again, if we're looking Google search, even at the very basic level of AI, we're able to search for a lot of information about the topic that we put in or the search term. We have to still, as humans, comb through that, and humans are still a valuable part of AI, and we have to keep that in mind. We'll talk about that as we go forward. It's also good at learning new tasks with less training data because it learns from itself and learns from its input. What it's not good at yet is learning from a few specific examples, kind of getting semantic and contextual language. That's where the empathy and the nuances of humanity come into play. Predictive analysis that does not align with the algorithm that we created, the left and right boundaries that we tell it to look at, it is not good at adjusting there, and also adjusting for unforeseen situations, such as a novel virus. It can look for markers. So if we tell it that a novel virus has these characteristics, it will look for things that look like that or act like that and identify it as such, but it may not know exactly what that is. Common sense and abstract reasoning, it cannot do yet. And controlling bias. You've all seen in social media and on the media where algorithms have produced incorrect information or misinformation, and it's based on the bias of the person that programmed that algorithm. If they had some bias in them, that might come into play in the algorithm or in the model that's being generated. That's why we also have hallucinations or mirages. How many of you have looked for or created an image using ChatGPT or some other AI tool, and it gave you a person with 6 fingers on one hand, or it spelled every word that you typed in there incorrectly in the image? Those are called hallucinations, and it's not perfected yet, but it's getting better and better every day. So the changing technology landscape in public safety. So technology's always kind of revolutionized the way that emergency preparedness professionals work, and enabling us in real time to take data and make more informed decisions, predictive modeling, or even a force multiplier. In many emergency management organizations, for example, they're very small staffs. The central staff, obviously emergency management is made up of all the partners, but on a day-to-day basis, we have very few people doing a whole lot of stuff. So even back in the early days of computing, I looked for good technology as a force multiplier to help me with, early warnings and alerts for all kinds of things that would make my job easier. I didn't have a GIS person, so I looked for tools that helped me very quickly ingest information and display it in a geospatial way. And those tools have been around for 20, 25 years now, and they've just gotten better over time. Advanced technologies really have the power to develop and enhance these early warning systems for us, such as ingesting sensor data. At the Port Authority of New York, where I worked after 9/11, we had facial recognition built into the heads-up displays of our patrol officers at the bridges and the tunnels. And as they're interviewing people, it's comparing their face to the known terrorist suspect database. And if it hit on somebody, it notifies them, notifies dispatch, and then all of a sudden, all the sensors around that site or that camera or that individual light up. Chemical detectors, other camera angles, and so on and so forth. So we're able to quickly get information that way. Satellite imagery and aerial drones. We've heard a lot about drones or UASs in the news lately. UASs and that kind of technology, satellite imagery, provides us valuable information. If you go back in emergency management history to Hurricane Andrew, after Hialeah, Florida was destroyed completely, there was no roads, no road signs. We worked with NASA and the National Weather Service to get satellite imagery of the area and overlaid the map of what used to be there to be able to do damage assessment. So it's been used for a long time. Robotics and unmanned aerial vehicles, the drones have really revolutionized emergency response. So equipped with cameras and sensors and communication systems, we can survey an affected disaster area, get damage assessment done very quickly, identify survivors. We can find suspects possibly by looking at heat signatures with different types of cameras that are on the device. We can detect if there's a chemical presence in the air, so looking at air quality. Technologies such as real-time messaging platforms and like this and video conferencing tools and collaboration software facilitate seamless communication amongst the response teams, agencies, stakeholders, and the social media platforms and online communities are critical in emergencies now. FEMA uses that for intelligence. We can identify pockets of individuals that are isolated because of floodwaters or if somebody's injured. So after Hurricane Katrina, the 211 and 911 systems in New Orleans went down completely. And there were hundreds of calls for service as the system went down. Using a third-party software, we were able to take the kind of the snapshot in time when the system failed, regenerate that data after the storm passed, and triage where we sent teams, where we sent police, fire, EMS to rapidly respond. So these platforms enable us to, again, to save lives in a much more rapid fashion than we've been able to ever in history. And well, there's many types of AI, like I said, based on different technologies. We talked about machine learning and LLMs. There's also tokens. So tokens take those large language models and break it into phrases or parts of words. And like we talked about earlier, when you start typing in a word and it predicts your next word or the whole phrase. So if you're typing in a text on your iPhone or your Android, it has predictive analytics to figure out what you're typing and make your effort go a lot quicker. So if you're finding that your organization or decision makers are very wary of AI, you hear a lot of concern for AI. We've been here before. So back in the time of social media, when social media first came out, where we had originally AOL, you got mail, things of that nature. People were very leery of the technology, and there's still so many challenges today. We've gotten past that, But now AI is the new thing that everyone's worried about. So we have policy challenges, governance challenges, and ethical considerations that we have to consider. It's already a part of our business processes and operations. It's part of government. So we have to embrace it, but we have to embrace it in a logical and safe fashion. I'll talk about some of those risks a little bit later. So where's the human in the loop? Everyone asks, relative to AI, how are humans integrated, isolated, or replaced by AI? Everyone's thinking, the Matrix, where we're going to plug in and the computers have taken over the world. But that's not really the case. So most experts agree that you'll never replace a human with AI, but they should also integrate humans and subject matter experts into the output that AI is generating. So it should be validated and vetted by a human being. AI can augment and expedite our development, but it will always require some human oversight. So that's very important to distinguish. It's not that it will be replaced by AI, but will be replaced by people that know how to use AI. So it's important that all of us learn how to use this tool. It's not that it's coming, it's here. So again, AI will not replace you. Somebody with those skills might. So many industries have realized that the value of this, and they're integrating it into their work processes, their websites. For example, many organizations have developed AI working groups and initiatives. So DHS, FEMA, Department of Energy, Department of Defense, have all these AI-focused initiatives in progress, but they also have AI governance and policy in place so that we're protected from nefarious use. For example, an engineer for a big Ford auto manufacturer was writing a piece of code that was really industry, game changing rather. And he was stuck on how to get that code to do something in particular. So he fed that code into ChatGPT, but then ChatGPT ingested that and it became part of its body of knowledge. And that code and that intellectual property of that business was stolen by somebody else and got to market first before that individual was able to implement that code. So we've got to be really careful about what we do internally and externally. There's different guardrails in place depending on what you're using. For example, we talked about earlier the Copilot, which is the Microsoft tool. You can have Copilot look at your own domain. So let's say the university's intranet, and it's looking at all the body of knowledge at the university, and you type in something or upload a paper into it, it's ingesting that body of knowledge, but it's not going outside the organization to look at the broader internet. And neither is it taking your data that you have in that closed loop environment and putting it out there for others to use. What I always recommend is if you're going to use the broader internet, use that for research, but be careful about, again, what your search terms you put in there, because anything you put in there, that computer or that machine learning is going to ingest it. And then if you had a very novel or innovative idea or process that you put out there, it may not be yours any longer if you don't have it copyrighted or patented. So you be really careful of that. So for a couple of examples, NOAA, National Oceanic and Atmospheric Administration, they use AI to translate forecasts and warnings into multiple language, Spanish, Chinese, et cetera, in real time. So National Weather Service puts out the report. It comes out almost simultaneously in these multiple languages. Homeland Security is unveiled this artificial intelligence roadmap. There's some pilot projects such as officer training using large learning models, large language models, planning assistance, helping to repurpose pieces of plans to make planning much more quicker. border security. We've heard about the use of drones and AI and sensors along the border to help with border security, enhance cyber security as well. All kinds of things that DHS is looking at. So can ChatGPT save lives? So trained models were 76% better at recognizing location description. So if I, again, call 911 and I have a AI tool that's listening, not just a dispatcher, and they're describing where they are. So let's say a kidnapping victim that managed to get to a phone, and they're describing their surroundings. AI can generally find it 76% faster or better than the person trying to interpret that. They also automatically process social media data to help locate or triangulate missing persons, injured individuals, etc. So let's look at a few areas where AI tools can be used in emergency preparedness and response. So AI-driven chatbots, for example, and automation are streamlining communications during crises. We know that. AI-powered algorithms can analyze vast amounts of data very quickly and in real time, actually faster than real time to us and to our perception. Predictive analytics can be used to forecast those emergency trends, allocate resources effectively and efficiently, and anticipate information needs. So if we're getting a lot of social media about a particular issue or topic or problem, we're able to address that in real time rather than it blowing up in our faces, as emergency managers and elected officials, as we're trying to get our hands around the emergency. It's a 24/7 news cycle now because of what I call first communicators. We used to have first responders. Everyone with a phone now and a computer, a laptop, a tablet is a first communicator. You are the media for all intents and purposes. Again, taking that real-time information, vast amounts of it in from a bunch of diverse sources, providing accurate and up to the minute information to the public and to the emergency responders is game-changing, saving lives. AI-driven personal assistants like chatbots are also used to assist in websites. If you're trying to find something, chatbots are there with little avatars, and sometimes it looks like a real human being talking to you, and it's communicating with you, and it's asking what you want to know, and it takes you to that spot in the website. All kinds of uses for that right now. First responders could use these models in certain radiation monitoring tasks, for example, such as feeding a series of monitored data points in querying a statistical analysis and describing the high radiation field and allowing us like an optimized route to go around it. This is how big the plume is, here's how you should go around it. Or first responders, you can go through it if you're only in there for 20 minutes. Beyond that, you may be impacted by the radiation poisoning. Those kinds of things it's helping with. Public information officers can use it to provide periodic events and action summaries based on input. So in your classes, you may have learned about situation reports or unit logs. It can take all that information, and rather than the person that's collecting all that to produce the report for the incident commander or the mayor or whomever, and bugging you 6, 7, 8, 9 times, it's ingesting that information in real time and producing the report, just like we do in a Zoom meeting or a Teams call, where AI is used to take the notes and summarize the meeting and actually give an identification of the outcomes or the outputs and takeaways and who it was assigned to in very short order. It takes about 3 minutes after an hour call to generate that full transcript and then an analysis of that transcript. Concerned citizens could ask questions from the models to understand the nature of the emergency. So rather than tie up our 211 systems or our 911 centers with calls from the public about what do I do, we can have an interactive model that talks to them and talks them through, how to shut off the main power to your house, or how to turn off the gas coming into the house, or if you have damage, giving you the link to the website to report it so that you can respond much more quickly, and we can respond back to that citizen. So responders can also use these language models to support decisions and smart assistants to kind of make sense of the emergency. Again, we as emergency managers, our real job is to take all the information we're getting from all of our partners, from the public, and put it all together, make sense of it, and put it back out to everybody else. Here's the picture of what's going on. Here's what's needed. Here's who can provide that thing for you. And again, very few people trying to do that, but these large language models can help us do that much more quickly. Real-time analysis of these data sets, and can also with predictive modeling, if I have a Cat 4 hurricane coming into this area and this population, how many people will I need to shelter? And how long do I have until I have to evacuate? Those models can help us define those. It also can look at our resources. If it requires 1,000 cots to open up 2 shelters and 20 personnel, it can look at my resource database and say, well, you're short 500 cots and 10 shelter managers. So ahead of the storm, I can now make a request to the state, and the state could make a request to FEMA, et cetera, if we need resources and we're able to define and predict them. Emergency trends. Again, predictive modeling can be used to forecast these trends. Crucial role in enhancing situational awareness. Again, some of these AI tools can analyze a video or live action from a closed circuit TV camera and see what is going on. Also, in exercises, it can look at the skills being done by the paramedic or the firefighter or the hazmat team and measure that against their standard operating procedures or their set of protocols. And if it deviates from that, it knows that it helps us, again, in real time with skill improvement as well. We can also forecast easier the direction or the strength and intensity of a hurricane. You've seen over the years that forecasting has gotten better and better and better at predicting these major storms and flooding and those types of events. Population density in Florida, where Embry-Riddle is located, where I'm located, in Daytona Beach, when I was the emergency manager there, I had a full-time residency of about 25,000 people, but I had 1.5 million people a day during spring break, during summertime, that I was responsible for. So these surges of population, it can look at that as well to help you manage that incident if it should occur. Also, incident commanders can use AI real-time information to process and encompass, this compilation of team reports and even recordings into a very concise briefing or information for the mayor, information for the city manager, et cetera. Furthermore, AI driven automation is transforming how emergency services operates, enabling faster and more efficient response. Dispatch is becoming more improved. We can assess damage, as I said earlier, quicker, search for survivors, deliver medical supplies. If we can deliver a pizza with a drone or an Amazon package with a drone, we can deliver life-saving tools as well to individuals that are injured and isolated. Drop in a communications device, a phone or a satellite link that people now can communicate if they're isolated. For decision makers, this is game changing. For public safety, for elected officials, for PIOs, this helps us respond to that plethora of information coming in from social media in real time. Because if we don't, the message is not ours anymore. So the message is created by the people that get to the masses first. And if it's social media and it's wrong information, that's what they're going to remember. So generative AI, again, is what we're most familiar with. The tools that we use to, use advanced machine learning, ChatGPT, et cetera, are trained on these massive data sets, and they understand patterns and underlying structures. But again, most of us use it daily with our Microsoft suite of tools. And a Copilot, for example, here's Copilot. Is looking, or ChatGPT is running behind the scenes for Copilot. And a quick overview, it finds information very quickly. So an example of using Perplexity, which is another AI tool, it assesses the audience segmentation to inform a communication strategy. So if we have to create a message based on the race, the socioeconomic background of a group of participants, it helps us define what that message should be for the different audiences. Like a message for you as students might be different than the message I put out to the larger community, because you have a very defined set of needs, especially if you're on campus, as opposed to the message I need to send out to the mayor, the governor, the president, even, is a different way, same information, but it's presented differently. So I can ask it these different things. It can provide me information very rapidly. So you can prepare your spokespeople too. I can put in some questions that I would think the media might ask me, and have ChatGPT or an AI tool kind of role play with me and give me talking points that especially if I have a press conference in 5 minutes, I got to prepare for, and I need some talking points very quickly, I can take that sit rep, have it give me the talking points in a very rapid manner. Here's another example. I can ask it to explain why the initial reports downplayed something relating to a leak. Are there concerns that full disclosure could lead to public panic? It's looking at the sentiment in that social media to kind of predict if you're going to have an issue in that area as well. In light of a emergency, how do you justify the current safety protocols, et cetera? All these different questions we can ask it and have it help us. The prompts are very important. I'm sure you've figured that out by now. What you put is garbage in, garbage out. So you've got to be very clear and very detailed and specific in what you ask it. So good example, as a crisis communicator, have it think in that term, create a list of crisis communication standard operating procedures, format the output in a table. The rows should be procedure, who is responsible, and the format of the output. The columns will be listed, the basic crisis communications, the legal teams, et cetera. So that's the prompt I can put in. And an additional prompt says, create the table in a format that I can download. So PDF or Excel or what have you. And what it can do then is produce this table for you in very short order. But you have to be that specific. Tell it how you want it structured, how you want it to look, and what you want the data to present to you. Another one, what operational limits or conditions are there for nuclear power plants? So you could have a nuclear safety virtual assistant, again, that cloned knowledge of a physicist, a nuclear physicist, or a health physicist, to tell you the information. Here's the safety limits. However, again, don't trust everything ChatGPT gives you, or the broader internet. If you have a closed network, And you are the ones that put the information in from all your professors, from all the research that you've done over the entire history of the university, and you're fairly confident in that data, you can rely on that a lot, much more than you can going out to the broader internet. Either way, an SME should validate the output before it goes put into something that's public. Again, here's another example for a master exercise practitioner. I want to, a decision tree for evaluating public information at a nuclear power plant full scale exercise. You have to give very specific information, and then tell it how you want it to spit it back out to you. So it tells you what your kind of EEG, your exercise evaluation guide for that thing should look like. Again, another PIO AI assistant could help you craft a press release or a letter of that nature, et cetera. I'm going to skip through some of these, but you get the point. If you're very specific, very detailed, and tell it how you want it spit back to you, it does a really good job of doing that. Okay, so prompts. Here's a couple of different ways of visualizing this. So different roles. As a PIO officer, you want to maybe task it to draft an official statement regarding this recent incident. And the format, you want it in a clear, concise paragraph format. Or you want to draft an agenda and a speaker order for a conference, and you want it in list format. As a social media coordinator, again, draft tweets highlighting the success stories of our most recent posts. And by the way, I need it in 280 characters or less for X. As a crisis communications lead, again, detail an action plan for the upcoming storm forecast, and I want it as a timeline or a Gantt. I can tell it that specific, and it will give me that information. So there are incredible opportunities we can leverage. Again, be cautious of these artifacts or mirages. 11 Labs is a tool that offers off-the-shelf voices that can be customized and also can mimic voices, your own voice. Quick example, I used developing one of its tools.
The primary responsibility of the Illinois Emergency Management Agency and Office of Homeland Security, IEMA OHS, is to better prepare the state of Illinois for natural, man-made, or technological disasters, hazards, or acts of terrorism. Our goal is a better prepared state. IEMA OHS coordinates the state's disaster.
Okay, so you saw or heard in that video that IEMA was pronounced correctly once, but it was IEMA in another location. That's the kind of artifact or mirage that you might have to edit out or train it to pronounce that word appropriately. With a similar word of caution, here's an example of generative AI gone wrong. I prompted it to create a logo for that same Illinois Emergency Management Conference. And pardon me. There we go. And as you can see, this is not something I would want to use for a logo, or the words are spelled wrong. It missed the nuances or the context in which I wanted to use this logo for. So I treat it like a muse instead of as a thing to create new content for me. If I'm getting stuck or I get writer's block or creative block, I'll ask it these things just to give me some ideas or spark the flow of imagination. Then I'll sit down and build it myself. So we've been here before with social media, like we said, but to ensure proper policies and procedures and human oversight into the process before we really integrate AI into our work processes, our daily life, our government actions. We need to have these policies and safeguards in place. Let's consider how we're going to ensure appropriate human oversight. We might require a new or augmented role within our EOC even, or emergency management, which is a AI governance person or an AI person that's on part of the public information staff, and have oversight responsibilities for AI systems within the organization. The federal government has mandated that every federal agency have an AI leader, basically, to look at governance and use within that agency or organization to ensure that those things are in place. I also consider community engagement. We talk about whole community. Community should be involved in the development and deployment of AI systems in public safety because it may have unintended consequences. There may be a cultural opposition to the AI tool that we're using, or the chatbot that we're using. We have to engage the community to pressure test what we're doing. Decision intelligence is really where we're going to move next. It doesn't solve problems and make decisions, but it makes predictions. And evacuation time is money when we're talking about an evacuation. And the decision to make an evacuation is big money. If we evacuate a community and 100,000, 200,000 people along the beaches or the coast, and that storm doesn't hit, there's going to be an awful lot of people mad that we did that. And there's also going to be a boy that cried wolf syndrome that comes into play the next time there's an emergency. So having models that help us make it better decisions faster is really the way to go with some of the predictive analytics. There's a framework for making these decisions, and it's called decision intelligence. And again, it's the application of AI and machine learning and the human all working together and to create that rapid decision making. So how will AI transform public safety? And it's clear in time that there won't be much that AI can't do better than us. It doesn't suggest a dystopian future, like I said, where humans are obsolete yet, but rather call to action to embrace and leverage AI in public safety for the greater good of the community. And it's all about harnessing this power and this powerful tool to enhance our capabilities. Our current information ecosystems are characterized, as you know, by mis, dis, and malinformation. Trust is a scarce commodity. And leaders and decision makers are going to be key in navigating that mis, dis, and malinformation and gaining the trust of our stakeholders, whether they're response partners, whether they're other agencies, or the public at large. We have to get trust, and the way you do that is through transparency. If we're using AI, using transparency and ethical considerations, and we must leverage it, and to not just to improve, but to advance and innovate. Again, the ability for us to take our body of knowledge, what you're learning in university, whether you're going into emergency management, law enforcement, aeronautics, whatever industry you're going into, we are making these, we're almost in another, age of transformation where we've seen throughout history, but now it's happening every other day that we're making these giant leaps. And you are all on the forefront of that. You're the future. So using these tools to help you get better, faster, and innovative will really set the stage for your future in whatever career you choose going forward. But let's not simply automate for automation's sake, but also use AI to reimagine or innovate, like I said, eliminating antiquated processes. If you hear the phrase, "Oh, we've done it that way 100 years," it shouldn't necessarily be done the same way it was done 100 years ago. We've gone from the stone tablet and animal skin to quantum computing and AI. Some things are better the old-fashioned way, especially if we don't have electricity, or if you have an emergency, you need a backup plan. So when you're doing continuity, don't just also rely on your technology tools to help out. But we can leverage AI and other technologies, not just for incremental improvements, like I said, but transformative changes in the way we enhance community resilience. Truly, and like in the next year or so, I think we're going to be at the point where AI is integrated in everybody's lives and in everything we do. So I wanted to just, before I review what we learned today, I used AI to read through my presentation. I gave an AI tool a sample of my voice, 30-second sample. I think I read the lyrics to "We Will Rock You" or something like that. And it sampled my voice, and the summary that you're going to hear is completely AI generated, including the video and images that were chosen. It took me about 20 minutes start to finish, including my intervention to edit it. If I had done it the old-fashioned way, it would have taken about 5 hours of editing time to create that. But before I do the review, in the end, AI reflects the principles of the people who built it, the people who use it, and the data upon which it is built. And this is also from that executive order on the safe, secure, and trustworthy development of AI. It's a great thing to leave us with, and I'll just do the review and we'll answer any questions.
Hey everyone, Adam here. In today's presentation, I dove into something game-changing, how AI is transforming public safety. So let's take a minute and review what we learned today. First off, what exactly is AI? Think of AI as a super smart assistant that can analyze data faster than any human ever could. It's not here to replace us. It's here to make our jobs easier and more efficient. Imagine this scenario. There's a natural disaster, and emergency response teams need to act fast. With AI, we can predict disaster hotspots, streamline evacuations, and even manage resources more effectively. How? By analyzing mountains of data in real time. AI can process weather patterns, social media activity, and even traffic flows to give us a clearer picture. Now let's talk about predictive analytics. AI can forecast potential risks by analyzing historical data. This means we can proactively address issues before they become full-blown crises. For example, predicting flood zones or wildfire paths allows us to evacuate people sooner and save more lives. Equipped with AI, drones can survey disaster zones, assist with damage assessment, deliver supplies, and even aid in search and rescue. There are eyes in the sky, providing real-time footage and data. Another cool application we did address is AI-powered crises communications. During an emergency, clear communication is vital. AI can filter out the noise, prioritize urgent messages, and ensure that the right information reaches the right people at the right time. But it's not just about reacting to emergencies. AI can also help with recovery efforts. By analyzing damage assessments, AI can assist in allocating resources more effectively and speeding up recovery times. And let's not overlook cybersecurity. With the rise of cyber threats, AI is crucial in identifying potential attacks and neutralizing them before they cause harm. It's like having a digital bodyguard that never sleeps. Of course, with great power comes great responsibility. Implementing AI in public safety requires ethical considerations and strict regulations. We must ensure that AI is used fairly and transparently. AI is not just a buzzword, it's a powerful tool that can revolutionize how we handle emergencies. By leveraging AI, we can create more resilient and safer communities. Remember, the future of public safety is here, and it's powered by AI. Let's embrace it and make our communities safer, smarter, and more resilient. Now, this is the part where you break into thunderous applause.
Thanks all for attending. Thanks all for coming. Please stay if you have time to have a little bit of conversation with Adam. And then also do not forget that I think it's already next week. We have a fascinating next occurrence of Resilience Reimagined with a member of our new College Philanthropic Council, who also is a leader in the effort of making aviation careers accessible to youth in Ghana. So that will be fascinating also. So please feel free to check it out. We'll also re-advertise it on LinkedIn. Adam, thank you so much for speaking to us today. And I also see that you contributed to some of our course developments. So thank you. I wasn't aware of that. Now I am. So this is also a great learning opportunity for me. And with that, Tanya, please, can you take it away and moderate the Q&A? And once again, with my big thanks and my apologies. So nice to meet you virtually. Thanks for presenting. Thanks all for coming. But please stay around, and over to you, Tanya. Take it away. Thank you.
Thank you so much.
You're so welcome.
Sure. Thank you, Adam. We really appreciate this talk. There are a lot of questions in the chat. I don't know if we'll have time to get to all of them because I know we're up at the hour, but I think we had one question about from Brigitte for Adam. In view of the increasing threats from massive cyber attacks and the fact that certain critical infrastructure sectors like electricity and water supplies, hospitals, medical, etc., insufficient training and security checks for some areas. She would generally introduce an S3 check. So she's a little concerned about security, physical security, I think. And she's asking, what do you think are the biggest gaps and challenges in the current EM system, and how can both resilience and responsiveness be improved, preventing possible sleepers or covert threats in critical infrastructure in the future?
Oh, yeah, there's a double-edged sword here. We've got, on one side of the sword, we've got something very dangerous. As I showed you, that video I created, I didn't read that whole text. That was created from a very small sample, the 30-second sample of my voice. There's deep fakes of people, their faces, and it's very easy to trick people into believing it's the individual that you think it is, and they're telling you what they're, the voice pattern is pretty much the same. That's why we need to have multi-factor authentication. Sometimes we have to ask, my kids growing up, I'll give you an example. When they were at school, and if I couldn't pick them up and somebody else needed to, a friend, a neighbor, they had a code word that they had to know to give my children and the school that they knew it was a safe person, safe individual. So that's the rudimentary version of having multi-factor authentication in place. So we've got to be careful in that regard. But on the other side of the sword, it's a powerful tool for us to identify patterns or anomalies in video and imagery to counter a deep fake, a voice print, et cetera, stolen SMS code that was texted to our phone. The FBI just recently came out with a statement that says SMS is not an effective method for two-factor authentication any longer because it can be intercepted. So using an authenticator app like Microsoft Authenticator or Google Authenticator or some biometric where you have to have your thumbprint or what have you is much more reliable. We can also on that side of the sword, we can take all the analytical data from sensors, from camera feeds, from a list of questions. Let's say you would take the NIST set of questions for cybersecurity and make that an assessment, we can feed those questions in. It can look at our data, our plans, our SOPs, and give us an analysis in very short order, less than 5 minutes. You've got an assessment of your whole organization plans, and then the human needs to interpret it and make sure that it's validated. But that's what will help in the future, is using AI also to help counter. AI is going to be used to perform cyber attacks, but it's also going to be used to counter them as well. We just have to be one step ahead of the competition, so to speak.
Thank you. And we have a question from Jake, one of our students. He said, you mentioned a large number of ways that AI can help EM and that public officials can use and implement AI into their planning and process to minimize fallout or help free up critical systems. So what specific AIs or automations would you recommend for EM personnel to use or to look into for licensing to carry out these tasks?
There's a lot, there's so many tools out there, and as an evolving field, at Summit, we have a tool set that we have developed a software called CPS, or Continual Preparedness System, and CEM Planner, which is one of the modules where it helps automate the collaboration around building a plan. It's not a template that you fill in the blanks and you have a plan done, but it let's say we're all part of the planning team. It crowdsources the information. It allows us to comment on sections, get approval, and it's using some AI to help with version control and things of that nature. It also has some predictive analytics on the effects of, for example, chemical or biological agents. If I have a pound of this in this population, what are the resource needs I'm going to have? There are many tools out there, though. So Microsoft even has a Teams kind of template for emergency management. A lot of people have attempted to build tools for emergency management, but they were built by programmers, that have no contextual background or experience in the field. So they're really smart programmers, and the tool looks cool, but it doesn't really work because it doesn't follow what we do in real life in our workflows. So whatever tool you look for something that was built, yes, by smart technologists, but practitioners that were the underlying creation of the material, because it will have your thought process in there. Also, look for, we have a tendency, and this has been going on since technology was a factor in emergency management, is getting good technology that is scalable. And what I mean by that is you buy a piece of software that's a one-off that handles this one task really well, but it can't evolve unless you get the upgrade, or you pay for this integration or that integration, or it doesn't integrate with anybody. So now you have 5 systems with 5 different logins that do 5 different tasks. You want to look for things that are single use or middleware that ties. If you find that you have 5 systems, some kind of middleware that ties those 5 things together to give you a single dashboard. It's just like in a security operations center. I've walked, I do assessments of those facilities, and I walk in and I see 50 or 100 camera, screens that one guard has to look at. The human brain can't process that. So we're starting to use analytics on the cameras and in the access control systems to cue in on those things that we need to focus on. So if there's a fire in the parking lot, or it looks like somebody's piggybacking in, using their card, and 4 people are following behind them through the access door that's controlled by your ID, we can see that. It brings that camera up into our view of field of vision. We need things like that for emergency management too. Things that'll bring those different systems into our field of vision so we can rapidly, respond to them.
Yeah, thanks. I think we have time for maybe one more question, and I would like to ask Dr. Alex Reister had a question related to your advice about how we can most effectively teach students how to be prepared to use AI tools in the workplace when the pace of change is so swift.
It's a great question. I think maybe some role playing with the students in developing, it starts at the policy level, right? So I would work with the students to create a governance plan. How are we going to use AI in our agency, as the prompt to them, and what are the rules of engagement? What's the left and right boundaries of what we're allowed to do? So put those things in place and discuss them with the students, because then they'll carry that forward into their application in their agencies that they're going to work for. That's key. And also using your IT folks or your cybersecurity folks to vet the different technologies. There's a lot of great tools out there. Even in my company, we created a governance and use policy, but we started with a training policy even, because people were taking classes on how to use AI, but they were using our computers on an open source machine. So we realized quickly that we needed to have rules about not putting proprietary information into the prompts, because it was using something external to the organization. Another thing is also look at the source of the AI tool. It's not a foreign adversary that could take that data and do harm to the United States. I would look carefully at what tools you're using. Again, using your IT or your information security folks to validate and vet those things. We do need a crowdsource, because the information, like, hey, I found this really cool tool, but let's make sure it's safe before we use it, and then have it be part of our whitelist of things that we can use.
Thank you so much. And I want to thank you, Adam, because I want to tell everybody how amazingly supportive you are for our students. As Jihan mentioned, you've done videos to help them develop their professional skills. Adam's actually helping me right now design a disaster scenario for my grad course that I'm working on. And he serves on our IAB board, and he gives selflessly and tirelessly of his time, his expertise. And thank you, everybody, for coming.
Tanya, thank you for inviting me to do this. It was fun.
Awesome. All right, take care.
Take care.